Hey, Hope here with another video for you today. This time, we're tackling Valigarmanda. Jumping straight into it, the boss starts us off with a Spikesicle. You'll see curving lines coming out from the boss. The first curve always being in the opposite direction to the next 5. This is easier to recognize than the first line. After a few seconds, you'll see the boss shoot icicles in a curved line, placing ice boulders at the front of the arena. These will explode soon. To resolve, always go to the side opposite where the 5 in a row went. We then chase the icicles in front of us until we pass the center of the boss. Here, you nestle yourself into this exact spot on the hitbox on the far side from where you came. Wait for 3 explosions, then walk forward and you're done with the mechanic. Watch as everything resolves. Following this is Sky Ruin. This is a raid-wide AoE that changes the arena and phase. This time, it always changes it to the fire phase. Following this is Triscourge, a heavy-hitting raid-wide that gives debuffs to all party members. Notably, all members will receive a Calamity's Bolt and Calamity's Chill. Additionally, healers are given Calamity's Inferno. When Calamity's Bolt expires, the player will have a small AoE around them that paralyzes any other player hit by it. When Calamity's Chill expires, the player needs to be moving or they will be frozen and start taking damage. When Calamity's Inferno expires, the healer will be hit with a stack 3 times in a row that drops a ground AoE that gives a dot if you stay in it. We will come back to these. Circling back to where we were, a volcanic eruption is imminent, text appears, and on each side of the screen there is a volcano. One of them will have the animation of exploding. This side will have a large ground AoE that covers more than half the arena. Run to the other side and group. Seconds later, you will need to move twice as players will drop small AoEs where they stand. Finally, Valigarmanda will do one of 3 things, followed by a pair mechanic. I will be referring to these as telegraphed mechanics. Either he will circle around the arena, in which case you need to be near the center, as he will do a donut AoE. Inside this donut, you will split into DPS support pairs, as all DPS or all supports will be targeted with a 2-man stack. Or, he will rear up. This is a point blank AoE, and you need to escape just past melee range. Immediately after coming back in, you need to be in DPS support pairs. Or, he will display the text, "Blinding energies build the Valigarmanda's wide open beak." While pulling himself back, this is a very wide conal AoE that covers almost the entire arena. You can use the lines of the arena to know what the edge of the conal is. Inside this triangle, you need to be in DPS support pairs. Following whichever mechanic you did, either DPS or supports will have their Calamity's Chill debuff expire. To handle this, you need to continue moving until it is fully expired. Next up is Mountain Fire. This is a heavy-hitting mechanic. North of the arena, a tower will spawn and require 1 tank to be in it, every few seconds to soak the hit. Valigarmanda will use a conal attack that the party can be shielded from by standing behind the tank inside the tower relative to the boss. This hits 6 times. With every hit, the tanks need to trade places as it gives a fire resistance down debuff. This boss can position itself to the middle, to the left, or to the right. As this finishes, the healer's Calamity's Inferno will be expiring. As a reminder, this is a half-party stack that hits 3 times and drops a ground AoE. After the final hit of the tower, split into light parties. Group 1 west, Group 2 east, at the north edge of the arena. After each hit, walk south to the edge of the puddle. This happens twice as there are 3 hits in total. Shortly after the final hit, the remaining Calamity's Chill will go off. As a reminder, you just need to keep moving to avoid the damage as it expires. Following this is one more, a volcanic eruption is imminent. Looking for which side is erupting, go to the opposite, stack, and move twice to dodge the ground AoEs. Valigarmanda will again do one of the three telegraphed mechanics, either a donut in the middle, point blank AoE, or conal. All of these will be followed by a pair stack. However, this time you need to spread after the stack, as your Calamity's Bolt will be expiring, your final debuff. Now we have Disaster Zone. This is a raid wide that resets the arena and advances the next phase. Immediately following this is Foretold, a heavy hitting raid wide that starts the phase. The boss becomes untargetable and 3 spears appear: Flame-Kissed Beacon, Thunderous Beacon, and Glacial Beacon. These begin to charge the boss's Ruminous Power Gauge. If it fills, you wipe. Your goal this phase is to kill all 3 spears. During this phase, you will have 2 things to worry about: alternating conal AoEs every few seconds, and a party stack wild charge. For those unfamiliar, wild charges deal higher damage to the player closest in the stack to the boss. Have the tank of each group be the closest member. Group 1 will first kill the Flame Beacon, while Group 2 focuses on Glacial. Once your group has killed a beacon, you move on to the Thunder Beacon in the south center of the arena. Following successful completion of this phase, Tully Disaster hits 3 times for high raid-wide damage. This ends the phase and is followed by Sky Ruin. This will once again deal damage and push us to the second phase. There are 2 potential phases that follow, either the Ice phase or the Lightning phase. We will discuss the Ice phase first. Triscourge is similar to before, but applies slightly different debuffs. Everyone still gets Calamity's Bolt, but healers receive Calamity's Embers, which is a single hit half-party stack, and tanks receive Calamity's Bite, which is a large AoE centered on the player. These need to be handled immediately. Have tanks go to the northwest and northeast corners of the map. The remaining members of each light party should stack within themselves at max melee. Next, you will receive the text, "A rumbling avalanche approaches from the southeast." This will leave a rectangular AoE that stretches diagonally across roughly half the arena. During this, watch the boss, as he will reuse the 3 attack patterns from the fire phase. However, for this phase, the boss will not follow up with a pair stack. The boss will spawn 5 ground AoEs that extend out in 8 directions each. This seems like a lot, but there are actually only 2 patterns, and they are easy to identify. First, look south, and you will see one side of the arena has 3 origins for the AoEs. This is the bad side. You will want to line yourself up near north of the arena, in the space between the center and side AoE origins, like so. Next, you need to position yourself between the 2 AoE origins at north. You do get time to adjust, so long as you get close, you should be able to slide into safety. Following this, either all of the DPS or all of the supports Calamity Bolt will go off. Just have the affected players spread out. If anyone was hit by AoEs from the Followup mechanic, you can break them out by targeting the ice boulders, encapsulating them. Next, the boss casts Spikesicle. He will combine this with the avalanche mechanic. For the most part, we can handle this the exact same as the first time the boss cast it. After this fully resolves, the boss will do one of his 3 telegraph mechanics again, and follow it with the 5 8 direction AoEs, just like before. This time you can see some assistance waymarks, and that the AoE is followed by an avalanche. After this resolves, the boss will cast Freezing Dust. This is a simple check if you are moving. If you are, then you take no damage. Wrapping up this barrage of mechanics, the final batch of Calamity's Bolts will expire. Make sure these players spread. Disaster Zone ends the phase and resets the arena. Following this is Ice Talon, a tank buster on the 2 highest enmity members of the party. Next is another Sky Ruin. This will take you to whichever phase you have yet to complete. For us, that's the Lightning phase. This phase has a unique arena. You will see that 6 panels have a green tint and elevate players standing on them. This will be handy in the upcoming mechanics. Back to the meat of things, the boss casts Triscourge to give us our debuffs. This time we receive Calamity's Fulgur. This is the same as Calamity's Bolt, but it must be taken on the ground. We also receive Calamity's Frost. For this debuff, you need to be on an elevated platform to not die. The healers also receive Calamity's Flame, which goes off almost immediately. Elevation does not matter, so we simply stack as light parties on the 2 center tiles. Next is Hail of Feathers. This will start on either the east or west tile and place a feather on every non-green tile in either a clockwise or counterclockwise fashion. These feathers land after a high damage proximity AoE goes off, and after a short period explode in a high damage AoE affecting the tiles that they are on. Run to the opposite side and wait for the AoE to go off. As each AoE goes off, rotate around the arena in the same direction. When you pass the first feather that spawned, wait in the corner for the final proximity AoE when it goes off and focus down the feather that spawned first. This will create a safe spot for the party. Ending this mechanic, the boss casts Blighted Bolt. This is what causes the feathers to explode. It is also what prevents the party from standing on any elevated platform. Next, half the party will have their Calamity's Fulgur expire, and the other half will have their Calamity's Frost expire. These are again grouped by DPS and support. Have Group 1 West, Group 2 East, Melee Front, Ranged Back, Ice Up, Lightning Down. The boss follows this by selecting one of his 3 Telegraph mechanics. For this phase, the follow-up is that you place a delayed ground AoE where you were when the Telegraphed mechanic resolved. It's probably the easiest, as all you have to do is move away after the Telegraph mechanic resolves. Next is Thunderous Breath. The boss will spawn electric portals, 3 on one side, 2 on the other. This essentially splits the arena into 6 rows, 2 for each tile. This will always leave one half of a tile safe. This is a matter of simply checking which of the half tiles are safe and making sure you stand on an elevated tile in the row that has no panel facing it. After this resolves, we have the final Calamity debuffs expire. Handle these in the exact same manner as before: Melee Front, Ranged Back, Group 1 West, Group 2 East, Lightning Down, Ice Up. The boss closes out the phase with another telegraphed AoE from its selection of 3. Don't forget the follow-up is a delayed ground AoE, so move after. Then we have a disaster zone to reset the arena. The last new mechanic is Ruinfall. The tanks will need to be in the tower that appears in the center of the arena for a heavy-hitting shared tank buster. After this, all players will be knocked from north. You can either use knockback prevention, or be sure you are knocked between the AoEs that are at the south side of the arena. Wrath Unfurled is a raid-wide that gives the boss a damage up buff. Following this is another Mountain Fire before the Enrage cast, Thule Disaster. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like and subscribe. Good luck!